Welcome to another episode of the Gull-Mouth Action podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at Brighton Hove Albion, Crawley Town and Sport in Sussex. I'm Matt Pohl, and this week I'm joined by Brighton Hove Albion writer Derren Howard, Crawley Town expert Mark Dunford and Sam Morton, who covers both the Seagulls and the Reds. Finally, what seems like eternity, Albion will return to action this weekend after an enforced 2-week break. We'll preview Brighton's upcoming pair of Premier League fixtures this week, plus we'll take a look back at a fantastic win for Crawley Town that moved them into the League Two playoffs. You can read all the stories we are talking about with videos and pictures online at SussexWorld.co.uk/sport, and you can check out other great videos on ShotsTV.com and Freeview channel 276. You may also be watching on latest TV, so thank you very much for tuning in. But first, we will start with Brighton captain Lewis Dunk, who started in England's 2-2 draw with Belgium at Wembley on Tuesday evening. The defender, once again, was given a torrid time by Roma's Romelu Lukaku, as his mistake allowed the striker to provide the perfect cross for Yuri Tielemans to head in at the far post to give Belgium the lead. It was a bit of a rough old night for Lewis Dunk, wasn't it, Derren? Has he fluffed his Euro chances after that performance, do you think?
I hope not. I hope it doesn't stand against him. It may well. Southgate has in the past. He's stood by the likes of Harry Maguire when he's made mistakes in similar positions on the pitch, and it would be interesting to see if he offers Lewis Dunk that same leeway. Obviously, Maguire has been to tournaments in the past and has played really well at major tournaments. So how that will impact Dunk going forward, I think it's really going to depend upon the next 10 games of Premier League matches that's going to take place. Brighton have got 10 more games left of the Premier League season, and how he performs in those is going to have a huge impact on whether he does go to the Euros or not, as a squad or as a starter. But yeah, I think it will make an impact, and it came so quickly after his mistake for Brighton against Roma as well. He was in a similar area of the pitch. Romelu Lukaku was chasing him down again. He wasn't outpaced. Like sometimes Dunk is criticised for a bit of a lack of pace, but he was actually in the right position on the pitch. But he just got his foot in wrong, went with the wrong foot, couldn't clear the ball, and Lukaku again was onto him. Whether he had a flashback to that Roma moment last night when that was happening and he lost his concentration, I really don't know. But yeah, it was just really, I was gutted for him actually, because he's played so well the last couple of years, so consistent, so good, and on the two biggest games of his career, perhaps Roma and then this match against England. I know it's a friendly, but it was to really cement his place, and he's made those two big errors. So yeah, real shame for Dunk. I hope Southgate stands by him. I hope he does. I hope it doesn't stand against him.
Absolutely. It must be something about Belgium and Brighton players, Sam, because another Brighton player had a bit of a nightmare against Belgium on Saturday, didn't they?
Evan Ferguson, yes, he missed a penalty in a 0-0 draw on Saturday. So that's a real shame, obviously, for him not to be able to kind of end that goal scoring drought that he's on. It's a strange one, because obviously at the start of the season he couldn't stop scoring. He was scoring hat tricks against Newcastle, and you just felt like he was Brighton's next £100 million player. And I'm not sure what's happened, but he seems to have just lost that confidence in front of goal. We've noticed it with Brighton that he's really not been himself. I mean, he's not been bad in the sense that he's able to pick the ball up in kind of good positions and hold the ball up and play other people in. And it's just in front of goal, he's just really struggling. But it could be one of those things really where if he gets one, the floodgates could open and just get that confidence back. So it's a shame that he couldn't have done that for the Republic of Ireland, then come back to Brighton and have that goal scoring touch back again, because they really need him, especially with João Pedro, I think, still out. And it was a shame that he didn't find his goal scoring touch a bit early when Pedro was out, so they wouldn't have missed him as much maybe. But he's still very young, so I wouldn't say it's a huge concern at the moment. I think he just needs to go back to what he was doing so well before, and it's all about confidence in football at the end of the day. And I really do feel like if he gets a couple, then I think we'll all be laughing, and he'll go back to the form that he was in before.
Can we talk about Belgium's kit quickly? Because I love Belgium's kit. It's great, isn't it? And did it look a bit odd last night? Just England playing Belgium and the two coloured kits they were wearing. It didn't look like an England versus Belgium game, did it? But Belgium's kit, fantastic.
Mm.
If you didn't see it, it was basically Tintin, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I thought it looked
I really liked the England kit as well. Actually, it was really smart.
Yeah,
smart
it was really smart. Yes, yeah.
All
Where did
sorts
they
of
hide the
controversy
cross?
about
Where
that,
did they hide the cross on that kit? I don't know. It wasn't.
I think that's for a completely. That's probably for a podcast done by GB News. I think if we want to get into with St George's cross. But anyway, moving back to matters on the pitch.
Lukaku's was the best cross of the night.
It was. Yeah, that was a good cross, wasn't it? Yeah.
But yes, going back to matters, Albion matters. As mentioned, Albion are back in action after a fortnight off. And it's not an easy return for them as they travel to title-chasing Liverpool on Easter Sunday. How do you see this one going, Sam? They couldn't have asked for a harder fixture, really, could they? After a fortnight off?
No. I think it pretty much is. Obviously, going to the Etihad or Anfield or the Emirates were probably the worst places to go, and they managed to get Anfield to come back to. But you never know with Brighton, do you? I think this could be a game where they'd turn up and win, and we'd be all very surprised, because I'm not expecting them to be totally honest. I think a draw would be a great result in the circumstances. Liverpool are starting to get players back. Obviously, it was incredible, really, with the amount of injuries and players unavailable that Liverpool had, that they still managed to keep their title race going, really. So now they're starting to get these players back. Salah will probably be fully fit and firing for the game. I think there's obviously been some concern about the form of Gakpo, who hasn't really lit things up for Liverpool just yet. But there's so much talent in that squad, really. I think obviously it's going to be Alexis McAllister, who scored for Argentina during the international break, and he's in great form. So it's a really, really tough game for Brighton to get back to. And you just really hope that after the international break, they're feeling a little bit recharged, can put, obviously in Lewis Dunk's case, can put his errors behind him and can just really put in a good performance. And you just hope that they can really test Liverpool in the game. And I'm not expecting too much. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool came out and won the game and kept their title race going. But as long as Brighton go toe to toe with them and don't crumble, that's all you can really ask for, really, in the situation they're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose one other cause for positivity, Derren, is the potential return of two key men for the game at Anfield. Can you tell us a little bit about who could be returning for Brighton and how big of a boost it will be for Roberto De Zerbi to have those two back?
Yeah, huge boost. João Pedro and James Milner, they've been missing for a large chunk of this, for a chunk of the season now, both with thigh injuries. And De Zerbi was saying before the international break that he hopes to have them back for the Liverpool game. I think João Pedro, just a feeling, I think João Pedro's got more of a chance than James Milner. I think James Milner maybe it might be a struggle for him to come back so quickly against Liverpool. But I wouldn't be surprised if João Pedro makes an appearance. Whether that's from the start or from the bench, I think he could be involved. But he's been really good for Brighton this season. 19 goals since his £30 million move from Watford, and he's been a miss. So for these last 10 games where they're going for Europe, hopefully he can get back to goal scoring form. And as Sam was saying, help the likes of Evan Ferguson, help the likes of Danny Welbeck. And then James Milner, obviously he's great for, to add some experience to whether he's playing at fullback, whether he's playing in midfield. So his return will be very, very handy for the last 10 matches. And as well as Julio Enciso, he's now coming back to form as well. Tariq Lamptey as well. Hopefully his fitness is going to improve. So hopefully starting at Liverpool, there's going to be some good news on the injury front, and for the rest of a bit better for the rest of the season.
Well, absolutely. And once Brighton have travelled to Liverpool, they will then be hitting the road to take on Brentford on Wednesday, the 3rd of April. It's another tough away game, isn't it, Sam? It's another one that you can't really call, I think. But how do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, as you say, another really tough game, isn't it? I think Brentford are a bit of a mixed bag this season. I think they've obviously had some poor results and some good ones as well. So a bit like Brighton, I guess, but obviously Brentford, in comparison, are nowhere near safe. They really are struggling in the sense when you look at the table, they're just 5 points clear of the relegation zone. So they're going to be desperate to pull away as quickly as they can. So I think in that sense, it's going to be a really tough game for Brighton to be able to go to Brentford, to a team that's obviously still looking over their shoulder and have so much to play for. And obviously Brighton do as well in getting to Europe. But they're not fighting for their lives like Brentford will be. And Ivan Toney obviously is back, and he played for England as well and got a goal for the penalty spot. So I'm sure he'll be confident and looking to follow that up in the game. So a tough one. I think then hopefully they get a decent result at Liverpool, get the confidence going. Obviously, hopefully João Pedro and etc. are back, and you never know. And I think Brighton can hopefully follow that on and get a positive result at Brentford as well. So
haven't they got a really tough run in, Brian? Isn't it like statistically
really
they got the hardest run in?
They've got the hardest run in according to the stats. They've got Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, Man United, and Chelsea will still to play this season.
Man United for a hit, surely.
Same with Chelsea. Yeah, would have thought.
Yeah, and Newcastle and Aston Villa as well all got to play this season. So it's a really tough run in for Brighton. So I think they've got to be looking at that game at Brentford as one they've got to be winning. I think to give themselves a little bit of a buffer if they're going to try and get to the European places.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck to Brighton over the Easter weekend and the coming weeks. Thank you very much, Sam and Derren. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking all things Crawley Town. Crawley Town moved into 7th and into the League 2 playoffs with an excellent 3-1 win at Tranmere on Saturday. And by all accounts, Mark, it sounded like an incredibly professional performance and probably should have been more for the Reds.
Well, it did. Yeah, absolutely. And before the game, I think we said last week that it was a really tough trip, Tranmere. They were in form. They'd beaten Mansfield. They'd beaten Wrexham recently. And to go there and do the job they did was fantastic. And they didn't even have Scott Lindsay on the touchline because he's serving a two-match ban. But they got 2 early goals through Jeremy Kelly and Jay Williams, who we'll come on to in a minute. Both their first goals for the club, given 2-1. And when Luke Norris pulled one back, I think it was about 21 minutes. And I think a lot of people would have thought, and a lot of teams probably would at Tranmere, sort of, right, okay, they're back in it and sort of sit back. But Crawley still went for it. And, I think they had a goal disallowed for a foul on the keeper. Danilo Orsi scored. And then, but then Orsi got his goal, his 18th of the season, I think it was. Incredible. And just a really, Scott Lindsay was like cat that got the cream afterwards. He was, he said he was quite relaxed watching up from the top, but after you go 2-0 up after 10 minutes, you're going to relax a little bit, aren't you? So, no, really good. And it's great that they're actually in the playoffs because we've been talking for so long. They've got games in hand. They're a point off the playoffs, and now they're in the playoffs, and they've still got games in hand. So it's, they got games in hand, and it's in their hands. So, really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, sticking with the Tranmere game, there was one surprise inclusion in the Crawley 11 for that game, wasn't there, Mark? The not-so-mystery man now, I suppose. Who did Scott Lindsay lay in the starting 11, and how much of a boost did you think that gave the Reds?
Oh, it was a huge boost. He didn't just name him in the squad. He named him. He was still captain. It was Jay Williams because, we all thought he was going to be missing. He got called up to St Kitts and Nevis to play against San Marino. So Monday night he played at Stockport. Then he flew to San Marino. I think they were playing at San Marino, weren't they?
Yeah.
He was in the squad for the Wednesday night. He didn't play. He was on the subs bench. Didn't play. They won 3-1 incredibly. And then by all accounts, he picked up a bit of a knock in training. He thought it'd be best if he came back and got treatment with Crawley Town because people he knows. I think that's quite regular, isn't it? In football, people go back to where they were people they trust to treat them. And then it turned out he was fit for Saturday. They got permission from St Kitts and Nevis, which I'm sure Crawley and Scott Lindsay were very grateful for. And then he came up, popped up, and scored his first goal after 10 minutes. Yeah, incredible. What a week in the life of Jay Williams. He is someone we haven't actually spoken to yet this year. He's never been put up. He's never been put up for press or anything afterwards or pre-game or anything. So it'll be really interesting to speak to him about what that whole experience was like. Crazy old week. It was a huge boost for Crawley to have him back in the squad. Would they've got the same result? Who knows? They were in such good form. They might have done. But it certainly didn't. It certainly didn't hinder their chances of winning up at Tranmere there.
Absolutely. We mentioned Scott Lindsay, and as you said, Mark, he took the game in for the sidelines as he was serving a touchline ban. But post-match, he said he wanted to ensure everyone had their feet firmly on the ground as the Reds went up to 7th and into the playoffs. Sam, it might be easy for Lindsay to keep the players grounded, but I suspect the supporters are beginning to start to dream, aren't they?
They certainly are. When you look on social media, especially after that win at the weekend, all the comments underneath the Crawley Town's post were just saying, now it really does look good. There's lots of excitement, and I think someone said, should we get the hotel booked for Wembley already? Just get it booked up. But I hope no one's doing that and tempting fate. But it really does look on at the moment, and it's incredibly exciting. Really, I think we've mentioned before, just still very surreal how Crawley have managed to do this just literally 12 months after they look like they're going to be getting relegated. So yeah, I think the job that Scott Lindsay's done can't be overstated, really. And I think it's just brilliant. It's brilliant where they're at, and they just have such confidence when they're playing now. And even as a journalist and fans watching them, you kind of don't expect them to lose, which is an incredible position to be in, and they can really hopefully keep this momentum going. And as long as they do that, then I think there is every chance they'll get to Wembley for the playoff final.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned the confidence there, and I think this is kind of encapsulated by Danilo Orsi's comments after the game against Tranmere when he said that if Crawley could, they'll play again tomorrow. And again, you've also touched on it there, Sam, but when you compare the position the Reds are now into last season, it's absolutely mind-boggling. I think most people at the start of the season would have had Reds as favourites to go down. What have been the main differences between this season and last, and how much credit should Scott Lindsay get for this incredible upturn in fortunes for Crawley Town?
Yeah, massive credit, really. He's made such a huge difference, and he's just brought in some belief into the players, and also he's made some great signings, and he was questioned for some of the players that he brought in. People saying that why is he looking at non-league and players that have not been tried and tested, but they've come in with a point to prove, learning on the job, learning with other players that have done the same thing, come up from non-league, and they've all just made such a huge impact, and have really kind of bedded in well with the other players. And obviously you've got players like Clyde Lawless that's come in and Orsi that just hit the ground running straight away, and I don't think anyone expected them to have done that. And obviously we've seen the improvement of Corey Adai in goal as well. That's made such a massive difference, not conceding silly goals at key moments, but just probably the biggest thing is just having that consistency in the dugout, really. I think obviously because last season was so hectic with the manager changes so many times, the coaching staff, and the players probably not known who was going to be leading them out for the next training session kind of thing. And now they've just had someone like Scott Lindsay. There's a little bit of talk about him leaving obviously during the season, but he stayed, and he stayed to his job, really, and has kind of showed that belief and faith in his team and the players and what he can achieve at the club. And I think it's brilliant. And obviously the fans I love him. I think he's really, really kind of gelled into the team and really made a big impact in Crawley. So hopefully he'll be here with Crawley for a long time yet, not just this season.
Absolutely. Mark, it seems that every week I ask you whether or not you think the playoffs are on for Crawley Town, but it does feel like the playoffs are on for Crawley Town now, doesn't it?
It really does. They're just, they've got, what is it now? They are 7th, and they've got 2 games in hand over Gillingham, who are below them, and AFC Wimbledon. I mean, mathematically, they can get automatic promotion, can't they? Win all their games.
Oh, can they?
I think so.
Blimey.
Mathematically, I think there's a lot of things that have to go their way for that to happen. But but it really is on. And looking at this weekend, you got Doncaster Rovers on Saturday, for Good Friday, at home in front of a sellout crowd. So there's going to be 5,000-6,000 people at the Broadfield Stadium Saturday. Doncaster, though, weirdly, although they're 19th, they've only lost 1 in the last 10 games, which just seems bizarre to be 19th in the league at that. So it's not going to be easy. And we've seen Crawley falter at home against the likes of Accrington, Morecambe, Crewe, etc. So they've got to really be on it. But I'm sure they will be this weekend, and it's going to be really interesting. But then it's those 3 games afterwards. Newport away. I know you've got. Do you want to ask the question, Matt? And
I was going to ask you. They've got Doncaster, as you said, on Good Friday, and then they're off to Newport on Easter Monday, with games against Mansfield and Wrexham on the horizon. How important is it that? What would Crawley need for them to feel good about themselves going into those games, Mark, in terms of points?
I mean, if you ask Scott Lindsay that, I think you could lose both games of the weekend and he'd still feel good.
All right.
But he wouldn't be happy, but I'm sure he'd still be like, well, it's still in our hands. But I think they'd be disappointed if they didn't get at least 3 points from those 2 games, or 4 points even. Of winning and draw would be a brilliant return. I mean, if they win both games at the weekend, whatever, it doesn't really matter what. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what happens at Mansfield and Wrexham. If they lose this weekend to these two games, then that's where you don't want to be getting into a rut and like, oh God, now Mansfield and Wrexham. But I can see they should win Saturday, Friday. Newport's not an easy place to go, but I think they've won there before, so I can't see them. I can see them getting something at Newport, and then Mansfield and Wrexham. We've seen Tranmere beat them, both those teams recently. So the way football works, if Tranmere beat them 3-1, 1-0, Crawley wins. So that means Crawley must beat them, mustn't it? I don't know if that's how football works. It's got to be. They're really tough games, obviously, Rex, because they're both they're both going for the title, obviously, but they play each other Good Friday, I think. Mansfield.
Oh right.
So really big game, and there's a couple of other big games at the weekend. Gillingham are playing. Can't remember who you are. I should have done this research a bit better, but there's a couple of really big games in that playoff area, including Gillingham and MK Dons, I think. So it's going to be really, really interesting. But a good 4 points this weekend. That sets Crawley up magnificently, I think, for the final run-in.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck to the Reds this Easter weekend. We'll move on to score predictions, starting with you, Sam Morton. We talked about Liverpool at home to Brighton on Sunday. How do you see that one going in terms of the scoreline?
I think Liverpool will win this one. I think Liverpool will come out 2-1 winners from this.
Derren, do you see much hope for Brighton? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, chaps. I think after the international break, it's always a little bit of a leveler. So I'm hoping that will work in Brighton's favour. I'm going to go for a very optimistic 2-1 to Brighton, I think.
Oh, Mark, do you share Derren's optimism?
Not in the slightest. I'm going. I watched Brighton and Rome, unfortunately. So I'm going to go for Liverpool 3-1. I do think Liverpool will win the league this year, and
Do you think?
I do think they will.
Yeah. Then Brighton take on Brentford on Wednesday. Derren, again, another tough one for me to call. I think. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, this is a really tough one to call. I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 at Brentford. I can't. I think that's like you say. I think it's going to be very difficult for Brighton there.
Sam, how do you see that one going?
I think Brighton will win this one. I'm going to go for 3-1. 3-1 Brighton. I think João Pedro will be back and firing, and Evan Ferguson will break his goal drought. Mark,
do you share that with Sam? Do you see that?
No. No. I'm going to go with that. I agree with Derren this time. 1-1.
And then we've got the Crawley Town's two games, starting with their home game against Doncaster on Good Friday. I think you alluded to as much. I think you can see it being a Crawley win, but what scoreline do you think it will be?
I'm going to go 3-1 Crawley. I think that it's going to be absolutely rocking at the Broadfield Stadium.
Absolutely rocking. Will it be rocking, Sam?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go for 2-0. 2-0 Crawley, clean sheet, and the party will well and truly be starting.
Derren, are we going to make it a quick, clean sweep of wins then over the
Yeah, I'll go with Sam. I think they're on a roll at the moment, a comfortable 2-0.
And last by no means least, Crawley at Newport. Mark, another tough one for me, I think.
Yeah, I think they will get something, but I'm going to go. I mean, they shocked me at Tranmere. I predicted that they will get a point at Newport in last week, and I will stick with that. I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Sam Morton, very quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. 1-1 draw. I think which should be a great result.
And last by no means least, Derren.
I'll go for a draw as well. 2-2. 2-2.
Absolute brilliant stuff. Thank you very much for your time this week, chaps. You can catch up with all the latest sports news covering everything we have talked about today at SussexWorld.co.uk/sport. And you can watch more excellent videos on ShotsTV.com and Freeview channel 276. Sorry if I got my teeth in. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you all next week.